Welcome to The Explainer. So let's get right into it. Today, we're tackling a big question in bioinformatics. With all these specialized file formats flying around, do we even need relational databases anymore? Is there still a place for them? Right? This is the central puzzle here. I mean, we're all told that databases are the gold standard for managing data. But then you look around, and almost every bioinformatics pipeline you see is just a bunch of command line tools stitched together, turning through flat files. So what gives? What's the disconnect?
The best way to wrap your head around this is with an analogy. Think of a relational database as a library's card catalog, or, its digital equivalent. It's perfectly structured, right? You can look up specific books, see how they relate to others, update their status. It's all about precision. Now, contrast that with a streaming pipeline. That's more like a high-speed factory conveyor belt. It's just brilliant for processing a huge number of items, one after the other. Boom, boom, boom. They're both fantastic tools for sure, but you wouldn't use a library catalog to run a factory, and you wouldn't use a conveyor belt to organize a library.
Okay, so keeping that picture in mind, the catalog versus the conveyor belt, it becomes pretty clear. The first and most important step is just matching the right tool to the right kind of data.
All right, so let's get practical. Let's say I'm starting a new project. When I'm looking at all my different data files, which one should even make me think about using a database? So here's the absolute key distinction. Is your data curated and persistent, or is it raw and transient? Relational databases, they just shine when you're dealing with those more refined, polished datasets. We're talking about things like official gene models, annotations, data that's going to stick around, and where the relationships between things are super complex and you need everything to be consistent. On the flip side, you've got your raw data. Think of a BAM file with billions of reads. That data's transient, right? It's just the input for the next tool in your pipeline. It's not the final curated product, and that's where flat files and streaming are king.
Okay, let's really see how this plays out in the real world. We'll look at a tale of two different operations by comparing some common day-to-day tasks.
All right, so here's a totally real-world scenario. You've got this beautiful, well-maintained collection of gene models. Then, a collaborator sends you an updated set. The question is, what's the best way to merge their new stuff into what you already have, without making a total mess?
This is a classic job for a relational database. It's what they're built for. Because it's so structured, you can write these neat queries that only add what's new. It's smart enough to prevent duplicates and keep your data clean. Now with flat files, what's the easy route? You just tack the new file onto the end of the old one, right? Super simple, but you're just begging for a messy, redundant dataset full of duplicates. And that is a headache you really don't want down the line.
Okay, so that's adding new data. But what about updating records that are already there? Let's say a new genome assembly comes out, and suddenly you've got to update the coordinates for thousands and thousands of your existing gene models. What then? And once again, the database just wins, hands down. I mean, SQL was literally designed for these kinds of precise surgical updates. You can pinpoint exactly what you need to change and do it with a single command. Now imagine trying to do that with a flat file. You'd have to write some complex custom script to find and replace just the right lines. It's not just slower, it's way more risky and super error-prone. Okay, that makes perfect sense for curated data. But now, let's flip this completely on its head. What if you're not trying to update a few specific records? What if you need to perform an operation on every single alignment in a massive BAM file? We're talking millions, maybe billions of records.
And this is where the streaming approach gets to show off. This is its moment to shine. For this kind of job, processing every single record, trying to load that massive file into a database would be a computational nightmare. Just don't do it. The specialized bioinformatics tools, the ones that stream data from flat files, are built for exactly this. They're so elegant, read a record, do the thing, move on to the next. They're way more efficient for this kind of conveyor belt task.
So the big takeaway here isn't database versus no database. That's the wrong way to think about it. It's all about understanding the nature of your data and what you need to do with it, and then picking the right tool for that specific job. So how can we boil this down into a simple framework to help you make that call?
Okay, here's a simple little checklist. 4 questions to ask yourself. Number 1, is my data curated and going to live for a long time, or is it raw and just passing through? 2, am I going to need to look up specific individual records a lot? 3, are my main tasks adding or updating those specific records while making sure everything stays consistent? And number 4, Or is my main task just processing every single record, one by one, in a pipeline? See? If you're nodding your head to the first 3 questions, a relational database is probably your friend. If you're all in on number 4, then stick with those amazing specialized flat file tools.
So, at the end of the day, the goal isn't to find the one best tool for everything. Let's be real, that tool just doesn't exist. It's about looking at your data, understanding its life story, and choosing the tool that fits its reality. Does it need a library catalog or does it need a conveyor belt?
Hey, if this helped clear things up for you, do us a favor and hit that like button, share it with your colleagues, and definitely subscribe for more deep dives. So the next time you're starting a project, ask yourself, what does my data need? The catalog or the conveyor belt?